Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Crafty Hour number 54. It's Deanna here, but you're not going to have me for very long. I am going to pass you on to Leslie. Just going to make sure that we are live. There we go. Everything is set. Perfect. So I'm going to pass you on to Leslie. Welcome. This is our last Crafty Hour of 2024. Good gracious. Last Crafty Hour, and Leslie has the pleasure of spending the next hour with you guys. And just a quick reminder, tomorrow we are going live with our last Crafty Hour for sale of 2024. So I'm going to pass it on to Leslie. Enjoy. Have fun. There you go, Leslie. Have fun. Shut the door.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Hi, Sharon. Hi, Trish. Hi, Fran. Hi, Mia. Hi, Kathy. Good morning. Good morning. I am super excited to be here. Thank you for joining me today. We'll just wait one more minute to let people hop on. Be sure to say good morning if you're here so I know who's watching. We're going to do 2 cards today, and then I have a whole bunch of inspiration for you after, because I kind of went crazy with this die set. For those of you who have it, I was super excited, especially about this die here. So this is the one that I'm going to use on all my cards today. I think it's super versatile. And we'll just wait another minute and we'll get started. Good morning, Vicky. Hi, Amy. Good morning, Gay. Hello, hello. So I hope all of you have done your homework. I know it's a lot. I really love die cutting, so I kind of went all in on that. So hopefully you have all your pieces ready. And just one more minute and we'll get started. So I'll give you a peek of what we're gonna do today. These are the 2 cards I'm gonna make with you this morning. We'll do the top one first. The shaker bit is optional if you want. Okay, sorry, I'll talk a little louder. Is this any better? Oh, the homework was confusing. Okay, sorry about that. Basically, I just wanted you to cut the pieces with the paper that the die was on top of, but hopefully we can still get these done. Can you hear me? Can I get a thumbs up if this is okay? Is this better? Okay, so we're gonna do this one first. This one was super fun. It was a lot of die cutting, as you can see. Okay, thanks Trish for letting me know. So I'm gonna quickly show you the background that I did with the shimmer powder that was included in the kit. Obviously it's not gonna dry, so I did make a second one. So this is what we're gonna do first. So I'll just put that off to the side and we will get started. So for this, I did use the cream colored cardstock that was in your kit, but you could use watercolor paper or whatever you want. This one's a little bit thicker, and then I just cut it to just smaller than the size of the frame. Whoops, I ripped my tape. Okay, so I did tape mine down onto something hard so it didn't curl up. Okay, so I started off with this Nuvo shimmer powder that is in the kit, and basically I just sprinkled some of it on. You don't need too much. It is super pigmented. So I just started off by sprinkling some on like that, and then take your spray bottle. Oops, it's locked. Okay. And just give it a good spritz. With these powders, I definitely find it's best if you kind of just leave them alone. If you play with it too much, I don't know, I never seem to be as happy with them. So you can put a little bit more on if you like. Sometimes I also like to do some droplets if you want. So I just sprinkled out a little bit and put a little bit of water and mixed it up, and then just did a few droplets like this to get a bit more color where there isn't any. But basically that is it. I find it's best to just leave it alone and let it dry. You can tip it around a bit if you want, but I'm gonna put that off to the side to dry, and I'll just wipe up my little mess that I made. Okay, so we've got this. So this is the background for our shaker. So that one's dry. So we're gonna start off with that. So if you get your pieces for card number 1, so I've got this scalloped rectangle that I had you cut, the piece of the shimmery brown that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, your card base, and then if you want to do a shaker, I've got the acetate and your frame. Everyone good so far? Okay, so I'm gonna start off with some double-sided tape. I'm using 3mm. Whoops, sorry, should have opened that earlier. And this is a new roll. I'll find the end. Okay, so I'm just gonna put tape all around the frame, like so. Can someone give me a thumbs up just to see if the comments are working? Oh, there we go. That's better. Okay. Of course, if you didn't want to do this background, you could just use a plain piece of paper. You could just do it straight onto this. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. Okay, so you don't have to put tape in the middle.
You see my glasses?
Oh. No. But
Oh, there they are.
Oh. I like to do it just so it stays really secure. And then we're gonna peel all the backing off. Oops. Like so. Sorry, next time I'll put kind of showing you what instruction corresponds to what picture. I was just trying to use more things from the kit because there were so many great things in the kit. I still didn't end up using all of them. And then I'm going to try to line this up and press it down. And of course, if you don't get it quite right, you can always trim off the excess. So if you don't want to make it a shaker card, I still think it would look beautiful. You could just pop it up with or without the acetate and put the chocolates inside. But I love a good shaker card, so I am going to do that. So next, I am going to put my foam strips all over the back. So just lining them up. You of course can just use foam tape and cut it yourself, but this is way easier. They just happen to be the perfect size to fit behind this frame. And just make sure that you butt the pieces right up against each other so none of your shaker bits fall out. And again, If you want, you can make it just one big shaker, so just do the foam around the outside. But I am going to put some in the middle here. It just helps support the frame a little bit more so that you don't have it being droopy in the middle. Like so. Oh, welcome, Judith from Australia. Wow, that's really far away. I lived in New Zealand last year and did not quite make it to Australia, but I hope to someday. Okay, so almost done. The ones in the middle, if you don't care if they mix together, you don't have to be so careful with the foam tape. I'm gonna put the same thing in all the squares, but you of course could put something different in every square. Okay, and now I'm gonna take, let me do the powder tool first. So I'm just going to use my powder tool along all the edges just to try to make sure nothing sticks to it. Just like that. Everyone doing okay so far? Okay. And then if you want, you can just wipe off the powder a little bit if there's any extra. And then I'm gonna pull off all the liner paper here before I fill it. I just find that helps, then the pieces inside aren't going everywhere when you're trying to take the liner paper off. Just like that. I did that one already. Oops. Okay. And then for my shaker bits, I'm gonna use some sequins. And I'm gonna use some of these pink jewels. I just thought they would go nicely with the color of the background. Oops. And just sprinkle a few in there. It's up to you. You can spend the time and turn them all over if you want, so they're all facing the right way, or not. Just take a moment here and do this real quick. Yes, Sharon, this kit is awesome. So many ideas. I did not have time to make them all. Okay. And then, whoops. Oh well. And do a few of these. Of course, you can use whatever color you like, whatever you have at home. If any of you took Deanna's class and have the crystal chips, those would be great as well. Put the rest of those back. And last but not at least some glitter. So like I said, those crystal chips are great. This is Lawn Fawn Prisma glitter that I happen to have, but anything will do. And then just make sure nothing is sticking to the sides. And then we're gonna take that dry watercolor background and put it right on top. Just press it down really well. And that is that. So we'll put that aside for a minute and start working on the rest. So I'm gonna grab my glue and my background panel. If you want, you can of course cut out the center and save it. I forgot to do that, so I'm just gonna glue this whole thing down. So just some glue all the way around the outside. And a little bit in the middle. And then line it up. Just like that. And press it down. And then this scalloped oval. Same thing. Like that. And just right in the center. How are you guys doing? It is super beautiful paper, Margaret, you're right. I love the shine on that. Okay, so then you can glue it whichever way you want. There's no really right or wrong way on this one. And then I'm just gonna put glue on the back of the shaker and put that right in the center. My glue. Okay, there we go. Just right in the center there. And then if you want to put something heavy on top of it to let it dry, we will move on to assembling the next part. So we'll get out all the little die cut pieces that I asked you to cut out. And here, oops, the hearts, the squares. Okay. So, these heart ones, I just layered the smaller heart on top of the scalloped one. If you want more dimension, you can always cut out multiple and stack them together. So you get a bit more dimension on your pieces. Just like that. So just layering them on top of each other. Of course, you do not have to layer them if you don't want to do that much die cutting. So I did 3 hearts. The squares I'm not gonna layer. And then this bigger one I will layer. And it doesn't really matter how, I just offset it a little bit just to give it some interest and some more dimension. Like that. Okay, I'll bring this one back in for a minute so you can see. So I just had you cut out the one die that has all the small pieces. Where is it? Here. This one 3 times, so you'll end up with a whole bunch of pieces like this. And then feel free to have fun with it. My colors are not exactly the same as in the first card, but you of course can do as few or as many as you like. So I put this swirl here on the cookie, and then I had all the little hearts to go with it, kind of like sprinkles. So some of them I even cut out of this metallic paper at the back there. But of course you can do as few or as many as you like. I also did some metallic paper that kind of matched with the foiling. Oh, where are the rest of my pink hearts? Here we go. And then I just kind of scattered them around. Just like that. Just kind of get a mix of different colors and positions there. And you can put as few or as many as you like. Just like that. I thought it was great that they made this just one big die to cut out all those little bits instead of having all the tiny little ones. Oops. There. Maybe one more. Or 2 more. Okay. Good. And then for these ones, I did do some layering, but that is totally up to you. If you just want to do one piece, that's great too. What did I do? These guys here. So I'm just going to use the leftover ones I had from doing my card. But of course, you guys can use whichever ones you like. Oops. Sorry, it won't come out. Okay, there we go. Or maybe not. It looks like I'm missing some pieces. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna do this. Just like that. And then for these heart ones, I just use this little swirl. And that. And then for these ones, I'll just do these. Just like that. 2, 1 more. Oh, there we go. The last one. And then for for this one, I will just do it like that, I guess. Okay, so just a few dots of glue. Chocolate. We've been eating a lot of chocolate here lately. So this card is kind of more, I think, like the set was intended to be used, and then the next one I kind of just did my own thing using that beautiful paper pad that we added to the box. So just a few dots of glue. Oops. Really helps to have a fine tip bottle to do this. Just like that. Oops. Okay. Just a few more to go. Okay. Oops. And maybe just to save time, I'll just do one of these, but you guys can feel free to do as many or as much or as little decorating as you like. Okay, last one. Okay. And just move, oops, some of this out of the way. Okay. So then you can just arrange them on your card however you like. Fill it up as much or as little as you like. And of course, any orientation. I put mine all the same shape in one box. But you can put them, mix it up however you like. And you can use liquid glue or, oops, double-sided tape for this part. If you use double-sided tape, it won't slide around quite so much, but it will eventually dry and be all good. Some glue on this one here, like that. And then these ones there. Just like that. This way. again, you can be super creative with this part and make it however you like. And last one. Okay, so that is it. With this one, I did use the Lawn Fawn Scripty Love die with the new outline behind. That was kind of an afterthought. I very frequently forget about the sentiment on my card. So that's just an optional thing, but it would be super cute with just a little sentiment strip. You could stamp something and cut it out. That would also be great. But that's totally up to you. I did cut another one with this, so if you wanted to do use that paper that came with the kit, you could do that. Or this is the foil paper that I used that coordinated with that. But yeah, that one is all done. So that is the first card. So we'll move that off to the side, and I'll just scooch all these out of the way. All my extras there. So you can see if you just cut them all once, you've got enough for a whole bunch of cards. Like that. Okay, so on to the second card. So this one is a bit simpler. It uses all the papers from the paper pad that we included in this kit. I love all the colors that go together. So just get out all my pieces and your card base. And this one is super simple to put together. You can have as much or as little dimension as you want. Again, so I've just got my card base. Of course, you could make it either way. There's no direction to this, so I'm just going to start off with my scalloped rectangle again. And just put some glue on there like that. I love that all the papers go together so beautifully. And just center that up right in the center. And then we will go in with the frame next. You, of course, could pop this up on foam tape if you wanted. I think that would be super beautiful. I have so many ideas with this die. And then again, just center that one up as best you can. You can kind of use the pattern on the paper to help you with that. Get it nice and straight. And then we've got our pattern pieces. And of course, instead of just cutting one of each, oops, am I missing one? Oh no. You could cut the whole, you could have cut the whole die out of each color, so then you could make 4 cards instead of just one. Sometimes it's nice to have multiples to give as a set, or just to have some more on hand. So I'm just gonna glue them inside each square. Actually, it's probably easier to just put the glue right on here. Again, like before, and like I said before with the brown paper, because you're covering up so much of this blue background, if you wanted, you could definitely cut the center out of that paper so you could save it and use it for something else since you're not going to see it anyways. And the last one here. Just like that. Okay. Now we'll get all those floral pieces. Oh, I'm missing one. Sorry, just one second here. I seem to have misplaced one of my pieces. Okay. I guess I'm gonna cut another one. So we got this one and this one. Just give me 1 second. I'm going to go grab my die cutting machine. Okay, sorry about that. And I'll grab my tape from the kit, and then you can just center this up wherever you like to get whatever part of the image you want. And we will tape that down. And I'm just gonna take it off camera here for a second. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now I'm gonna take my foam tape and put it on the back of these pieces. So it's up to you. You can put it just in the center. This is not super thin like paper, so it's probably okay if you just want to put a small piece. But I'm basically gonna cover the back of each of these for the most part. If your paper is thicker, you would definitely not have to put so much foam tape if you don't want to. Yeah, there was one small photo, and I just used the 4 plain rectangles, Amy, to cut the floral paper. Of course, you can use whatever pattern paper you like. You can do solid on solid. You don't have to use all the layers if you don't want to. If you're giving this to someone by, like, delivering it by hand, then you can definitely go ahead and just put less foam tape on it. But especially if you're putting it through the mail and your paper is not as thick, I tend to do more foam tape rather than less. And then we can just take off the backing here and then center it up. And press it down. Okay. excuse me if my head gets in the way. And you can kind of put it down and take a look and adjust it before you press it down. And the last one. Okay. Just like that. Okay. Then for the sentiment, you can use whichever one you like. There's a whole bunch of really nice ones here in some of the other papers. So with that one I did happy birthday, and actually let's cut that one. I'll show you how I cut it. So I don't know if you guys noticed, but there is a stitching die that fits in each section, and it can make a kind of little door that you can open and close. And what I did was I used this one to cut out my sentiment. So I just took it and lined it up. I'll just get my tape here. Oops, just eyeball it there. Of course, you could use other stitch dies if you have, or the Tonic dies, or the Clipper Street stitched scallop rectangles as well. I'll just take this down really well, and I'm gonna run this through my die cutting machine. So just like that. And then when you take this off, you'll see it's not cut out all the way. But then what you do is you flip your die around. So now the cutting edge is on the other side, and you'll find it just kind of fits back into place. And then if you just take that back in there and run it through your die cutting machine one more time, then it'll be all cut out. Yes, Amy, that is why they only have stitching on, oops, on 3 sides. So that you can get that door. I don't know what happened to mine. It didn't cut all the way, so I'm just gonna put the die back on and run it through one more time. Sorry, I don't know what's going on here. Okay, there we go. Finally, I got it. So yeah, you can see now when you take it off, you have stitching on all 4 sides. So then I just used some more of the pattern paper to mat it. I did not really measure. I didn't want a huge border, so all I did was I put glue on here like that, and then took my scrap of paper and just glued it in the corner with about how much mat I wanted. It, oops, this one's really skinny, like maybe like the 16th or something. And then I just used my paper cutter to cut it out. But of course, if you want to measure, you can do that. there. So probably better to cut it bigger rather than smaller at first in case you have to adjust. But it doesn't really matter if it's not perfect. And then I did mat it once again on some green. This is just one of the squares from when I cut out the frame, I believe. And that looks maybe a little big. I'll trim this one too. So frequently, if I don't want to measure super tiny measurements, I'll just hold the pieces together and do it that way. You can take a little bit off of this side too. And that looks good to me. Like that. So then it's up to you. You can put foam tape under multiple layers, which is what I think I did. Or you can just glue all these pieces together and then put foam tape on the bottom. Totally up to you. So just like that. We'll stick that right in the center. Okay. And then we can put it on here. You can kind of decide where you like. You can put it that way. Maybe I'll do my card portrait this time to make it more interesting. So what I did do is put a little bit of foam tape in the center here, just so it's not sagging. But of course that's optional. Like I said, if you're gonna hand deliver it, that doesn't really matter so much. It's just if it's gonna go through the mail, it might get squished a bit. So put it in there. Too. Like that, use up all the scraps. Oops. Cut a bit more off there so you don't see it. And then I will put some on here. Again, you could glue this part flat if you want. And then that goes right on there, however you like. Actually, I'm going to trim this a little bit. I want it a little bit higher, so it kind of lines up. Maybe there. Like that. And then of course, if you want, you can do some embellishing. So I have some of these Pink Fresh glitter gems, or these iridescent ones that are a bit older. Those are super fun if you want some glitter there. And I'll show you, I made another one with the same paper pad, just in a different set of colors. So this one is just using the black pattern paper instead of the white one, but it's basically exactly the same. I did the pattern on the back, and then I just did the scallop rectangle in the black. And then I use the red pattern for the frame in pink. And then this one is just one of the sentiments from the paper pad. And I just fussy cut it out and stuck it in the center there, and then put a whole bunch of gems on there for some sparkle. So that's just another idea, using exactly the same design, but it looks very different because the colors are different there. And then I made a few more. So those of you who did the last Crafty Hour, Deanna gave me her extras. And so I made this one using Deanna's extras, so the pattern paper from the kit in there, and then I just added a little bit of dark blue for the frame, some foil for some mats, and then these snowflakes are actually just that same snowflake die that came in the kit, and I just cut them up. I also made this little shaker, not sure what I'm gonna do with it yet, but I just cut them up and stuck them on the card with a few gems in the center there for some extra sparkle. Not that this card really needed any more sparkle. And then I did one more. And so this is from Jen's Crafty Hour a month ago. And I just love the paper so much. And I love this die so much. So I did another one with all the laser cuts. And this is the brown paper from this kit. And just put a lot of foam tape on there. So yeah. So we're done a little bit early. I wasn't sure how long it was gonna take, being my first time, but yeah, if anyone has any questions, I could totally answer them, or yeah, that's all I have. Thanks for joining me. Thanks, Vicky. Thank you, Sandy. Yeah, so hope you guys enjoyed. Hope that gave you lots of ideas for using your kit. I'll bring that one back in there. And be sure to show us all your creations. Post some photos of that. Okay, thank you.
See you guys tomorrow for the new Crafty Hour reveal. Bye-bye.